This last lecture is about leadership, and the title of this talk is Everyone, Yes, You Can Be a Leader. Well, there's been a long-running debate as to whether leaders are born or bred. Are people born with certain levels of leadership based upon genetics, or can they acquire leadership traits as a result of their life experiences? Although how much of each is important may vary from person to person, research indicates that what makes a leader can be learned. I'm going to summarize some lessons I've learned from 3 leadership experts. Here's 3 of their books I'd encourage you to read if you want to become a better leader. The first is by John Maxwell, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. The next is by Daniel Goleman, An Authority on Emotional Intelligence and Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. And the last is by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Let's start with some ideas from John Maxwell. What is leadership? He says that leadership is influencing others' lives. That's it. It's that simple, and it's not a title or a position. Well, how do you improve your influence? You do that by intentionally adding value to other people on a daily basis. And these are what he says are the 3 main attributes of leadership. The first is humility, which means not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. Being teachable and willing to grow, realizing that you don't know everything and that every person and situation can potentially be a teacher. The second main attribute is values. That means doing the right thing for the right reason, and this gives you credibility. Good habits are hard to develop, but easy to live with, whereas bad habits are easy to develop, but hard to live with. The third attribute is authenticity. This is about being real and being yourself. It means having friends who know who you are rather than fans, and letting people know you care and value them. These are the fundamentals, and when you get the internal part right, you can then develop the skill sets of leadership. Another idea he has on the road to becoming a leader is to find great mentors. I've had many mentors over the years, and this is what I learned from this one. Dr. Von Norden was a world-renowned expert in strabismus, and he was my fellowship director. I spent a year with him before I came to Saudi Arabia. Dr. Von Norden was always questioning why things are the way they are, and even late in his career, when I worked with him, he was always curious and interested in learning. That was the first thing I learned from him. He also said to live large and dream big. It was Dr. Von Norden who suggested I spend a year at KCASH, as several of his fellows had been there earlier, and he thought it would be a great experience. It was a great recommendation. When someone suggests how you can do something extraordinary with your life, take advantage and don't turn down that opportunity. And always be aware of how and with whom you spend your time. Visit great places, meet and spend time with great people, read great books, engage in great experiences, and have great thoughts and conversations with others. If you do all these, you'll create an environment where you can't help but come out on the other side as a leader. The next expert I've learned from is Daniel Goleman, who has written about emotional intelligence. And his research indicates most effective leaders are not those necessarily with the highest IQs or the best technical skills, but those who have the highest emotional intelligence. Well, what is emotional intelligence? He breaks it down into 5 components. The first is self-awareness. That means understanding your own emotions, strengths, weaknesses, needs, and drives, and how they impact you and others. The next is self-regulation, which means being thoughtful and reasonable rather than a hothead or one who panics. The third is motivation, someone who is internally motivated to achieve beyond their own and others' expectations. The next is empathy, understanding the emotional makeup of others and treat them according to their emotional reactions, being able to read other people. And the fifth is social skill, proficiency in building networks with other people. Well, let's look at these 5 components of emotional intelligence and their hallmarks. The first is self-awareness, and that's characterized by someone who's self-confident, who makes a realistic self-assessment and has a self-deprecating sense of humor. How about self-regulation? That means trustworthiness and integrity, comfort with ambiguity, and openness to change. Motivation, a strong desire to achieve, optimism, even in the face of failure, and organizational commitment. Empathy, expertise in building and retaining talent, cross-cultural sensitivity, and service to clients and customers. And finally, social skills, effectiveness in leading change, persuasiveness, and expertise in building and leading teams. And about that cross-cultural sensitivity under empathy, there's nothing like helping someone develop cross-cultural sensitivity than living in another country for a while. And the final author I'm going to discuss is Stephen Covey, who talked about the 7 habits of highly effective people. The first habit is being proactive. The second is beginning with the end in mind. The third is put first things first. Fourth, think win-win. 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. 6, synergize. And 7, sharpen the saw. And we'll break each of these down. The first habit is being proactive. Being proactive is about being in charge rather than saying there's nothing I can do or that's just the way I am. Thinking the problem is out there becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead of saying he makes me so mad, realize I can control my feelings. There are some things you can't change. You can't change the weather, how other people treat you, or the past. But there are things that I can change. I can change my mood. I can change my attitude. I can change my reaction to others, my reaction to setbacks, and how I treat other people. It's often said that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. And note in this list, I've included more things that I can change than things that I can't. The second habit is beginning with the end in mind. And this gets to vision, which is especially important as a leader in your practice, but it's also important in your own life. And Covey asks you to think about your own life. Is it what you imagined it would be at the end of your life? What will your friends and family say about you and your life? He speaks about the importance of setting your own and your organization's values. We should strive to be principle-centered. President Kennedy, who was president of the United States in the early 1960s, had a vision, and that was to put a man on the moon and bring him back safely by the end of the decade. And that's exactly what happened in 1969. So have vision and begin with the end in mind. The next habit is putting first things first. So every day we should prioritize what's most important. We have to address the important and urgent, of course, and have to spend some time each day on that. But we also want to spend at least some portion of each day by doing things which are important but not urgent, such as relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, and planning. Focus on the important things. Time spent there will pay off in the long run. Don't waste time in the lower two boxes. The next habit is think win-win. How can you make it so that both people win and reach agreements or solutions that are mutually beneficial? With win-lose, one person temporarily wins, but the relationship is damaged going forward. The best deals are when both sides feel they've gotten something. You can then go on to work with that person in the future. The fifth habit is seek first to understand and then to be understood. Before we can give advice, we must seek to deeply understand others and their perspective through empathic listening. Listen and understand before you speak. The sixth habit is synergize. By understanding and valuing differences and perspectives, we have the opportunity to create synergy, which allows us to create new opportunities and open new possibilities and create something better than either person can come up with alone. That's the value of teamwork. And the seventh habit is sharpen the saw. I'll give you a quote from one of our presidents of the United States. That was Abraham Lincoln. He was the 16th president, and there was a lot of wisdom in his statement. If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Well, how do you sharpen your own saw? Well, you can do it in 4 ways. One, by physically improving yourself by eating a good diet, exercising, and getting plenty of rest. 2, spiritually through your religion, meditation, or appreciating nature. 3, mentally by reading good books or attending great events where you can learn. And 4, socially by developing deep relations with others. In that way, you'll be at your best to grow, achieve your goals, and lead others. Well, that summarizes what 3 authors have to say about leadership. And I think you can see there are some common themes between these different individuals. The first was humility. Next, each speaks about integrity and strong core values. Next, strong motivation and working steadily towards goals rather than letting the urgent and unimportant consume your time. Fourth is vision. Fifth is understanding others and providing value to them. After you've worked on the core, then you can work on your skill set. For example, while working, I obtained my Master of Healthcare Administration at a local university over a 3-year period and have been the physician administrator of our practice since 2000. A master's program like this, which is similar to a Master of Business Administration but focused on healthcare, covers vision and strategic planning, quality improvement, human resources, information technology, finance, decision-making, public health, and many others. I believe such a degree does provide a helpful background if you're seriously interested in healthcare management. And we really have come to the end. This is the end of the last lecture. And if you want to read one more book about accomplishing your goals, leadership, and making the most of every moment, read this bestseller by Randy Pausch. He was a professor of computer science who, after learning he had pancreatic cancer and had a short time to live, created a last lecture for his students. In this book, he talks about dreaming big and facilitating the dreams of others, some of the important aspects of being a leader. I've enjoyed speaking with you and wish the best for everyone in the audience and being the best providers you can be, learning to lead and achieving your own dreams.